properties of the soil. Initially, I'll take you to that. First, we'll discuss about that without reinforcement. Then after that, we'll go to the with reinforcement actually, with this column. So let us see that analysis of the what is the basically analysis of the triaxial test and strength of the unreinforced soil. First, we'll discuss about the unreinforced soil. Then we'll go to the reinforced soil. Like RCC, you might have studied that. What is the reinforcement? What is the plain concrete? Like that in RCC, reinforced cement concrete and plain cement concrete, you might have studied that. Like similar concept you can introduce here. Here, if you are to improve the tensile properties of the soil, that we'll discuss later on that. And this is a simple slide. Generally, this depicts about the triaxial shear test. If you see that on the right side, top right corner of the slide, you're having that triaxial shear test cell. I hope that all of you might have seen in the geotechnical engineering laboratory. This is a simple triaxial shear test cell. In the cell, what you do that, we'll be going to be conducting a sample, you're preparing the sample and loading in the cell and testing and finding out the shear strength properties of the soil actually, basically. If you know that how to conduct the shear strength of the soil by using the triaxial shear test, then it is a well and good. If you do not know that, no need to worry that I'll explain you that. As we know that, like every material has that strength properties. Every material, maybe that every engineering material, in nutshell, we can say that every engineering material has the shear strength properties. Like soil also, we do have that shear strength properties generally. What you do that, these shear strength properties, we can find out in the laboratory in different means, like that UCS, unconfined compression test also, we can find out the C and 5 shear strength properties, as well as the triaxial compression test also we can conduct and we can find out the shear strength properties, as well as the box shear test or shear box test we call it. Okay, so these three tests generally we use to find out the shear strength properties actually. Basically, shear strength parameters generally we call it is the shear strength parameters, that is the C cohesion as well as the 5 friction angle. Generally, these two parameters we call it is that shear strength parameters generally. Then based on these, we'll find out the shear strength properties. Let us see that how to find out the shear strength of a clay soil, as that a Bhopal is the maximum covered with that black cotton soil. As this black cotton soil generally, we used to find out that black cotton soil in that triaxial shear test generally we use for that to find out the shear strength parameters. And that generally, if you want to be find out that shear strength of a soil at X meters below the ground level, maybe that 1 meter depth, or maybe the 2 meter depth, or maybe the X meter depth. This soil which is already in the certain depth from the ground level, and above that point, maybe that, for example, you assume it is that, say, if you are finding out the shear strength properties of soil at the 1 meter depth from the ground level, this soil is already experiencing that certain overburden pressure. Means overburden pressure means above the 1 meter depth, what are the soil is there, because of the above 1 meter depth, this overburden soil is there, that soil has a certain density. That density multiplied with the depth, that gives that overburden pressure. So the soil is already containing some pressure. What you're doing that, during that investigation, you are going to be excavating the soil sample and you are collecting the soil sample at 1 meter depth. In the process, when you are excavating the pit and you are collecting the soil sample from the 1 meter depth, you are releasing the overburden pressure. Means you are releasing the overburden pressure. So these things generally should not be that. When you are releasing the overburden pressure, the properties of the soil alters. So what we do that, we collect the soil sample from the field and we test that in the laboratory in triaxial shear test. In this, if you see the top right corner, we have that this is a triaxial shear test cell specimen. It has the glass chamber. Inside, we're having that one sampler. This is a sampler. This is a sampler. Okay. And the bottom right corner, this is a sampler. This is a failed sample. It is already there. That this has a certain diameter, certain height. Okay. The minimum diameter H2, the height by diameter is ratio. Generally, we follow the 2 generally. Okay. With the cylindrical sample, with the height to diameter ratio, it is greater than 2. That in the standard sample size is that, say, diameter of the sample is 37 mm, we can take that 50 mm, 100, 150 mm, 200, and anything up to the 300 mm diameter of samples we can test in the laboratory. As the diameter of sample goes larger, we call it the large triaxial shear test sample. Generally, we call it that. And nowadays, the technology is there like that. Instead of the cylindrical sample, solid cylindrical sample, we can test that. Hollow cylindrical sample also we can test that. Of course, that is that behind our scope. for that. Okay, so that basically, not initial, what we call it is that to determine the shear strength parameters of the soil, the sample size should be but the H by D ratio, that is the height by depth ratio, diameter ratio should be greater than 2. For example, in this test, what I'm showing is that the diameter is at 37 mm, then height of the sample is 80 mm generally. That. Okay, so this is at the top bottom right corner. You can see that the sample. This sample we prepare and you load in that what is the chamber, traxial shear stress chamber. From this chamber, generally, we apply the cell pressure. Okay. Once if you load the sample in a sampler in a chamber, then what will do that? We apply the cell pressure. Soil is confined with a different confining pressure. That is called the cell pressure. Cell pressure, the sigma 3 cell pressure. Why we apply the cell pressure is, as if you recall that when you are collecting the sample from the field, when you collect the sample from the field, the sample is already under that overburden pressure as well as the confining pressure. Suppose if you are collecting the sample at 1 meter depth, the overburden pressure is the density of the soil multiplied the depth of the strata. So here, if you are going deeper, say 10 meter depth, then the overburden pressure increases, the confining pressure increases. As the overburden pressure increases and the confining pressure increases, as that density of the soil increases, basically. So density of the soil increases. That is the reason, that basic reason, that as you go deeper, you'll find that more denser soil. As you go that come to the near to the ground level, the sample generally becomes a loose actually. Not generally, local language we call it that dense and loose strata. Technically we call it is that at the top layer, generally the shear strength parameters are small or less. As you go to the deeper, the shear strength parameters increases. In here, shear strength parameters nothing but the cohesion, that is C, that is the cohesion, as well as the 5, that is the friction angle. Right? So that to resemble the field condition, what you do that when you load the sampler in a chamber, then through this we are applying the confining pressure sigma 3 confining pressure through that this side you can see the valve, through the valve where what is allowing the water, filling the water at a certain pressure. This water, what occurs that this water holds the sampler tightly such that it resembles the confining pressure of the soil. Suppose that in the field the confining pressure is the X kilopascal, say that through the water you can apply the confine the soil like the X kilopascal. Sorry. Fine. So here that to resemble the field conditions, we are going to be applying the confining pressure, exact pressure we can apply. Once that, after that confining pressure, it is that we close the valve. These two valves, generally we close the black valves. You can see that these two valves we close. Then after that, that is that while the confining pressure is kept constant. As in the field, for a particular depth, the confining pressure is constant, such that here also we can maintain the confining pressure is constant at that. Then we slowly apply the vertical load from the top actually, like that. We try to be like what is tensile strength test of a rebar, you might have tested that there we are pulling. But here, generally we apply the compressive load. When you apply the compressive load, the sample undergoes the compression, like that slowly undergoes the compression. When the sample undergoes the compression, it generally what occurs that failure and the envelope at a certain point, the sample fails. The bottom right corner of the sampler is there, that the sample is already failed in the diagonal manner. That is called that. When you apply that vertical load, that is called the deviator stress. That is called the deviator. Vertical load we call it is the deviator stress, or major principal stress we call it is that. So that here the vertical stress is called the deviator stress, that is equal to sigma 1 minus sigma 3. As the sigma, why we are deducting the sigma 3 is already before applying the deviator stress, we apply the confining pressure, that is sigma 3. That is called the cell pressure. We can call it the confining pressure, we call it the cell pressure, or we call it the sigma 3, or we call it the minor principal stress. What are that we'll discuss. Okay. So here, that is the reason that already sigma 3, that much pressure is confining pressure is already applied on the sample, so that to apply that, when you are applying the vertical stress sigma 1, you need that first you have to be nullify the how much already pre-existing stress is already there that. So that is a sigma 3. That is the reason that we are deducting that. So sigma 1 minus sigma 3 is called the deviator stress. It is applied gradually. When you apply it gradually, the load applied by increasing the axial strain at a constant rate. Axial strain. This test we call it is the strain control test. Why? Because because the cell pressure we are making the constant, the sigma 3 is making the constant, and we try to be from the board, what is the vertically, we are applying the slowly, we are applying the load. In the process of applying the load, the sample generally undergoes the compression. When the sample undergoes the compression, then the height of the sample changes, reduces. That is called the strain. The strains develop. So that is the reason that we call it that strain control stress. That is the reason that we call it the strain control. The peak deviator stress. The peak deviator stress is recorded in the process that as the moment, if the sample fails, the corresponding load, the deviator stress, because the peak deviator stress, that has to be recorded. Then from these, what is that? Strength is interpreted from that plotting Mohr circle by preparing the sigma 3 versus sigma 1, or mean normal stress versus the shear stress. Where the mean normal stress is nothing but the T, or shear stress we call it the Q. If you recall that your shear strength chapter, you may determine that shear strength parameters by Mohr-Coulomb equation or Mohr circle or PQ diagrams. PQ diagram. Okay. As now with this background, let us proceed further. Let us analysis further how to find out the shear strength parameters of the soil. As we know that the bottom right corner, that already a sample ruptured surface in the fracture shear. This is a ruptured sample, we call it that. This is a sample of diameter D, height H. And upon applying the deviator stress, the sample has been failed in the diagonal manner. So this is the failed. This is called the rupture plane. This is called the rupture plane, the failed plane. So this is called the rupture surface. On these, if you do that further analysis, if you draw the free body diagram of this sampler, you can find out that this sampler, suppose this is that, say BC is the diameter of the sample and AB is the height of the sample. Okay, AB is the height of the sample. Let OA and OB, and before that, the sigma 1 is the major principal stress and sigma 3 is the minor principal stress. We are applying that. Sigma 1 is applying vertically and sigma 3 is applying horizontally confining each. Okay, find that. The sigma 1 is the major principal stress, sigma 3 is the minor principal stress, where that CB as well as the OA are the major principal planes, and the planes where the major principal stresses are acting, whereas that OC and AB are the minor principal planes, whereas that minor principal stresses are going to be acting. So with this, and let us assume that PR is a rupture plane. PR is a rupture plane acting at an angle theta. At an angle here, the theta is missing. That is nothing but the with horizontal plane. So this is the say angle theta. This is the angle theta with respect to the horizontal plane or with respect to the major principal plane. So we call this again that sigma 1 is the major principal stress, sigma 3 is the minor principal stress, OA and CB are the major principal planes, AB and OC is the minor principal planes, and let us assume it is that PR is the rupture plane, possible rupture plane, passing at an angle theta with respect to the horizontal. And on these, what are the forces are acting? Let us see what are the forces are acting. We are acting that normal to the what is the rupture plane, that is one force is acting, that is a sigma n, normal stress. Sigma n is called the normal stress, it is acting normal to the failure plane or failure envelope. And again that one force is acting downwards, that is called the shear stress tau. That is missing is the shear stress tau. If I draw the free body diagram of this portion, the P, this is that P and R and PQ, assume it is that. So this is the diameter, PQ is the diameter, and assume it is that, and this is the failure envelope, and this is the free body diagram, where the PR is the failure envelope. On this sigma n, normal stress is acting perpendicular to the failure plane, as well as along the failure plane, tau sigma is going to be acting that. Tau is going to be acting. Okay, Mr. Sachin, I think somebody is editing. I think this pencil diagrams remove. Okay, Mr. Sachin, this pen diagram, somebody is that red pen etc. is going to be writing that. Please try to be controlled.
Okay.
Fine. Fine. So here, I will give. Are you? Apart from you, somebody is hosting.
No, sir.
Then why these marks are coming? Okay. Otherwise,
I
you
will
make
check,
me the
sir.
host, that I can. Fine. That's
Okay.
okay. So here, PR is the failure envelope. On this failure envelope, let us see what are the forces are acting. On this, one force is acting normal to the failure envelope, that is a sigma n, that is a normal stress, and another force is acting along the failure envelope downwards, that is a tau, that is a shear stress. Okay. On this QR, on the, that is a major principal. QR is the major principal plane. On this, sorry, QR is the minor principal plane. On this, sigma 3 is going to be acting, and PQ is the major principal plane. On the sigma 1 is going to be acting. Okay, fine. Let sigma 1 and sigma 3 are the minor and major principal stresses. The major principal plane is the horizontal, that is the OA and CB. If you recall that about the previous this diagram, OA and CB are the major principal planes, and the minor principal plane is the vertical, that is the OC and AB. Okay. As a principal, what is the principal plane? Principal planes are the planes on which that shear stresses are 0. Shear stresses are 0. Got it? Here, these are the, okay, shear stresses are 0. So along this, if you apply that shear stresses are 0, I'll come back to this sentence. Principal planes are the planes on which the shear stresses are 0. I'll come back to the next slide. What is this sentence? Okay. Now, I'm taking the free body diagram of this one. Same previous free body diagram picture, that same, this slide, from this I have taken this one. I have on this, see this free body diagram we discussed already that here. PR is the failure envelope. PR is the failure envelope, as well as that RQ is the minor principal plane and PQ is the major principal plane. On this minor principal plane, sigma 3 is going to be acting. On the major principal plane PQ, sigma 1 is going to be acting. And the failure envelope is making an angle theta with respect to the major principal plane. That is a horizontal. On this plane, a failure envelope, two forces are acting. One is the normal force, that is that called the sigma n, is the normal stress. And another stress is going to be acting downward, that is the tau shear stress. Okay. Then let us resolve this. Let us analyze the free body diagram of this one. Okay. Stress on the plane PR. Stress on the plane PR is stress on the plane PR at an angle theta. This angle theta to the major principal plane is going to be acting. Now resolve these forces normal to the plane PR. Let us resolve the forces normal to the plane PR. What are the forces are there? There's a first normal force is acting, that is sigma n, multiplied by the area. Area is nothing but that PR, the length, multiplied by that one is nothing but the 1 unit width. So that is that total area. 1 unit width is a perpendicular to our plane, that is called that 1 unit width. Okay. So this is that which is acting downwards. So sigma n multiplied by that PR, that is that failure envelope length, multiplied by the 1. That is equal to, that is a sigma 1, which is acting leftward. That is a sigma 1, that is the area is nothing but the PQ, and the resolving normal to this one, that is nothing but cos theta. Then other force is acting upwards, that is a sigma 3, is acting on the PQ area. Then when you resolve it, it becomes a sin theta. From this principle of the triangle superposition, we have the cos theta is equal to PQ by PR, and sin theta is equal to QR by PR. Okay. So we know that. So the cos theta is equal to, from this triangle, in a similar triangle position, that cos theta is equal to PQ by PR and sin theta is equal to QR by PR. From these, if you substitute these in a equation 1, the sigma n, the normal stress, is equal to sigma 1 cos square theta plus sigma 3 sin square theta. If you recall that sin square theta, if you can rewrite that 1 minus cos square theta, you can write that. So that sigma n normal stress is equal to sigma 1 cos square theta plus sigma 3 1 minus cos square theta. If then from this you can rewrite this equation sigma 1 minus sigma 3 cos square theta plus sigma 3. Again you resolve this equation finally. If you solve this equation, the normal stress is equal to sigma 1 plus sigma 3 by 2 plus sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2 cos 2 theta. Whereas sigma 1 plus sigma 3 by 2 is nothing but that it is a normal stress, that to measure that. So this equation, I think we have studied that a lot in first year, that is the strength of materials. You might have studied that. That is a solid mechanics. That is here we call this a solid mechanics. So the simple shear stress strain chapter you might have studied that. the normal stress is equal to sigma 1 plus sigma 3 by 2 plus sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2 cos 2 theta. Where that sigma 1 is equal to major principal stress, sigma 3 is equal to minor principal stress, and theta is that nothing but that angle which makes that failure envelope at an angle theta with respect to the horizontal plane. The horizontal plane is nothing but that major principal plane. Fine. So we got that normal stress. Now with this, if you resolve that, what is the, so far if you resolve all the forces normal to the failure plane, we got the normal stress. Let us resolve these forces parallel to the failure plane. Let us resolve these forces parallel to the failure plane. The same free body diagram I have drawn here, same normal stress is acting along the failure envelope PR, perpendicular to that, and shear stress is acting along the PR failure envelope, and we are having that sigma 1 is major principal stress is acting on that major principal plane PQ, and minor principal stress sigma 3 is acting on the minor principal plane QR. On this, let us resolve the same, all the free body diagram, all the forces are resolved parallel to the inclined plane. When you resolve the parallel to the inclined plane, then we have the shear stress tau, which is acting on the plane PQ. Shear stress tau, which is acting on the plane PR, sorry, not PQ. So tau PR multiplied by 1, that is which is acting that downwards, or I mean, the left side, we can say that. So the sigma 3 also acting that left side. So then we can, that is the reason that is taken the positive sign here. So sigma 3, which is acting on that which plane? That is the QR plane. That is a minor principal plane. That is the reason that QR. Then we resolve it. That is the resolve it. That then it's called the cos theta. So that sigma 3 QR cos theta. Then another force is acting upwards. Then that is the reason that is taken on the right hand side of the equation. That is a sigma 1 acting on the plane PQ. That is, if you resolve the forces, that is a sin theta. So that sigma 1 PQ sin theta. Apart from that, there are other forces acting sigma n. That is a normal stress is acting. But normal stress is acting normal to the plane. That is the reason that we may not be considered, we will not consider that force. So that if you resolve this equation, tau is equal to sigma 1 sin theta cos theta plus sigma 3 sin theta cos theta. If you resolve this equation, that if you, then tau is equal to, that is the shear strength is equal to sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2 sin 2 theta. So these things, so far what we found, we found the normal stress and shear stress, both that. We found the normal stress and shear stress. And from the Mohr circle, let us study that how to find out the shear strength parameters. Let us study that. Okay. So here that I have drawn that Mohr circle, the x-axis I have taken that normal stress, y-axis I have taken the shear stress, the tau, and that x-axis is the normal stress. As from the laboratory experiment, we know the cell pressure, that is a sigma 3, that is a minor principal stress. So that from 0, O is the origin, 0, from this is the point sigma 3, we know that sigma 3 ordinate. That is a sigma 3 point, we got it. And from again, sigma 1 also we know that. That is a deviated stress from the laboratory results, we know that. So here from O sigma 1, this is a sigma 1, you ordinate that. As we know that sigma 3 and sigma 1, we know that once we know that from this sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2, you draw a center point here of the Mohr circle. From this, you draw a Mohr circle. There that. The diameter, radius of the Mohr circle is nothing but that sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2. As we know the both parameters, we can draw the Mohr circle. The radius of the Mohr circle is nothing but that sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2. As we know that. Fine. Once you draw the Mohr circle, then the P is the point P, focal point it is that. From there, as once we know this one, at sigma 3, we have that O1. O1 is that, what is the origin? Actually, O1. From this, if you draw a line at an angle theta with respect to the horizontal, it intersects the Mohr circle at the point Q. Okay, fine. So if you draw, I repeat again that from the sigma 3 point base of the origin of the Mohr circle, O1, that is called the focal point, as we'll call it, is that if you draw a, what is the line with an angle theta with respect to the horizontal, it intersects that more circular at the point Q. Okay, this point Q. Then from this Q, if you draw the vertical line downwards, that is called the sigma. This is the, it intersects the x-axis. Okay. So this ordinate that it intersects the x-axis, as it is that some x-axis. The height of this thing, this is called that shear strength, and O and this point, this where is that from this point, if it is intersecting the x-axis of the point P, this ordinate is called that sigma n. So this is the O, this horizontal, this length, it is called the sigma n normal stress, and the vertical component of this thing is called the tau, that is the shear strength. But we do not know what is this, how much of that. There is a quantifying. How to quantify, we do not know that. As once we do not know that, let us see the how to quantify. We know that we want to find out the shear stress and normal stress. Shear stress and normal. Tau and sigma n, we supposed to be know that. As the tau, this is the tau. This tau, it is equal to that. We are having that from the similar angles. From here, if you draw a tangent from that focal, that is the half of the radius, point the radius. This is the PQ is the radius of the Mohr circle. With the P going to be failing. That made it is that I made it as that designated as that F stands for the failure. That means F stands for the failure. So that it is making it the angle theta with respect to the major principal plane. That is that angle is called the failure envelope or failure angle. From these, as we know that normal shear stress and normal stress and shear stress, we know that tau is equal to sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2 sine 2 theta, and normal stress is equal to sigma 1 plus sigma 3 by 2 sine 2 theta. Okay. So from these, if we recall the Mohr-Coulomb equation, where the maximum shear stress on a plane PR is that Mohr-Coulomb equation, we know that tau is equal to C plus sigma n tan phi. That is another Mohr-Coulomb equation. It has to be satisfied that. Where tau is equal to, if you substitute that these values in this equation, tau is equal to sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2 sine 2 theta, that is equal to C plus the normal stress, that is equal to sigma 1 plus sigma 3 by 2 plus sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2 cos 2 theta multiplied with the tan theta. Tan theta. Fine. From this, what you're doing to it, when the sample is going to be failing, we're supposed to be find out. When the exactly with which time, if you keep on increasing the deviator stress, the compressive stress increasing, that the load is keep on increasing, at what load that sample is started failing, that we supposed to be know that. That is called the failure. Sample is just started failure. So that is called as, when you rewrite the above equation, in the previous equation, the sigma 1 is equal to sigma 3 by 2 cos 2 theta tan phi minus tan phi minus sin 2 theta minus C upon tan phi upon 2 plus tan phi cos 2 theta by 2 minus sin 2 theta by 2. In this, we supposed to find out that what is the critical failure angle. That is the critical failure angle, that theta phi. What is that? The denominator, if you are derivate that sigma 3 is a constant, as we know that sigma 3 is constant, and we keep on increasing the sigma 1, that is compressing the load, at what is the minimum sigma 1, at which the failure occurs. For that, what you're doing that, what is that? This maximizes the denominator with respect to the theta. So d upon d theta, tan phi upon 2 plus tan phi plus cos 2 theta by 2 minus sin 2 theta by 2, that is we are equating plus 0. When it goes that, if you resolve this equation, if we solve this equation, finally, that will that theta CR, that the critical angle theta CR is equal to pi by 4 plus pi by 2. I think these components you might have studied many times, but nothing but that 45 minus pi by 2, that pi by 4 minus pi by 2. This value, that is a critical angle where that sample is going to be failing, just started failing. That is that critical angle. That is the failure envelope. So this value generally we use for the design purpose, not only for the traction test, for the design of embankment, design of the retaining walls. Generally we use this critical angle generally. Okay, so this, and here the beauty is, if you have taken that critical failure envelope with respect to the vertical plane, then you will be getting that 5 by 4 minus 5 by 2. This, if you are, since we have taken that failure angle with respect to the horizontal, that is the reason we got the positive sign between it. If you have taken that with respect to the vertical, instead of the positive sign, we will get the negative sign. That is the only difference. Fine. With this, again, let us start that, study for that. Rakesh, can I continue for the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Do you have time? Hello?
Last 5 minutes are remaining, sir.
Oh, yeah.
5 minutes
fine,
are remaining, sir.
Then I'll wind up this as early as possible. Fine. Okay, next slide. If this theta CR, that is a critical theta angle, is substituted in the previous equation, then we can find out that sigma 1 failure, that is a sigma 1, that is when the sample is going to be failing. That is the major principal stress. Means how much force is supposed to be applied in the sample such that just sample fails. That is nothing but that designated by the sigma 1 F. F stands for the failure. That is nothing but that is equal to 1 plus sin phi by 1 minus sin phi sigma 3 plus 2c by 1 minus sin phi cos phi. This is also familiar equation. We have studied that many times. This is also, of course, that this is the way generally, if you know that here, this as seen that this Mohr circle, you can draw that. This Mohr circle, if you draw that sigma 3 and sigma 1, that is the Mohr circle, and this is the failure envelope. It is going to be passing to that is a making angle theta. This is a phi angle. If phi is equal to theta, this is a phi angle. It is making that and it's intersecting that vertical axis at a point C. This ordinate is the cohesion we call it that. If we extend further, then O naught. This is that we'll discuss now that. Okay, if we extend further, what is that? The same thing you can find out by that Mohr circle. From the triangle, this is the same Mohr circle I have drawn, that sigma 3 and sigma 1. And this is the tangent is the making with that. This is a ordinate C. From this, if you draw a tangent just passing the Mohr circle, it intersects at the point P. It's point P. From this point P, if you draw a normal, what is that line, it touches that center of the Mohr circle at the Q, the PQ. Okay, and the angle of the Mohr circle from the sigma 3, the origin of the Mohr circle to the P, that makes that this is the critical failure envelope. That is a Q theta F. Actually, we already found that. Okay, and here that this is, I think everybody knows that. From this, if you recall that sin theta is equal to PQ by OQ. That is nothing but that sin theta is equal to PQ by OQ. That is the PQ by OQ. OQ is equal to O1 plus O1Q. Then we know that what is the PQ? PQ is nothing but that diameter of the, radius of the Mohr circle, that is sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2. When OQ, what is that? O1. O1 is nothing but that C cot theta. As we know that this is the C height of the small angle, and this is the theta. Then this O1 is nothing but that C cot theta. Then O1Q already we know that is that sigma 1 plus sigma 3 by 2. If you solve this equation, finally we get that sigma 1F, that is a failure. The deviator stress at the failure is equal to 1 plus sin phi by 1 minus sin phi sigma 3 plus 2c under root 1 plus sin phi by 1 minus sin phi. As that 1 plus sin phi by 1 minus sin phi, we call it the passive earth pressure coefficient, that is the Kp. Passive earth pressure coefficient. This again, this equation, if you rewrite that, sigma 1F is equal to Kp times sigma 3 plus 2c times under root Kp. This Kp, we call it is that Nc or N phi also this dependent. where the Kp is the passive earth pressure coefficient. So these are the ways to find out that how to find out the shear strength of the soil by using the Mohr circle, by using the what is the free body diagram, by using the what is that Mohr-Coulomb equation. We studied that. With these, as Rakesh told me that to stop at that what is that around 3:45, so that if I want that I can continue with that with the reinforcement, but it will take a lot of time. So with this, let us stop here and we'll quickly take that 2-3 minutes for that question. So Mr. Sachin, you unmute all the participants, and if they have the questions, we can take care of that.
Okay.
You unmute all these participants. If they have any queries, you can answer them.
Anybody have any queries? You can ask.
This is a very short duration. Actually, I have rushed that. I think. I hope that people might have enjoyed. Any doubts, gentlemen? 3 minutes we left out that.
Anybody have questions? You can ask.
Hello. So Aishwarya, you can ask. Afzal. Out. Hello.
Thank you, sir. I think students are not having any questions because you have explained all the things in very describe all the things in very large context.
So if you have any queries, that please you can reach me. That you take that my mail ID from the Dr. Rakesh. He can Dr. Rakesh, I request you to supply my mail ID to them, that so that they can ask me any queries over the mail.
Okay.
Okay.
It is a very short duration, gentlemen. That I think that at least 1.5 hours is required. Next time, please kindly consider for the 1.5 hours.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for
Thank you.
such a good
Thank you, gentlemen.
lecture on shear
I hope,
extent. Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye and take care.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Bye. I think that my mail ID has given at the chart. I think I have mentioned in the chart my mail ID. Please ask any queries. If you are unable to ask now, that you can ask me the queries on this mail ID. missionD@manit.ac.in, please. Thank you and take care and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.